Yeah, my name is Austen Whitaker. I was born the 2nd of January 1926 in Bundaberg in Lady Chelmsford Hospital. I remember I told you that I was born in 1926. My family lived in Bourbong Street. Well, I don't remember. So the first 4 years, my older brother did. Then we moved from there down to my father had that big coach and bodybuilding works on the corner. It was on the corner of Waller and Bourbong Street. In some of the letters I've written in the paper, I've said that it was the first garage in Bundaberg to have a driveway. Like before that, if you wanted petrol, petrol bowsers were out on the footpath. And if it rained, the attendant had to go out and pump the pumps. But my father, because on the corner, they changed the garage so you could drive in from Bourbong Street into Waller Street and it was undercover, so it didn't matter whether it rained. And in those days, the different brands you don't see in here, like COR, which was Commonwealth Oil Refinery, Plume, Texaco, Shell. The Shell bows out a lovely big glass. It wouldn't have been plastic, a nice big glass shell on the top. Had to be pumped up and you watch the gauge going up. These days it's, it's all automatic. In that same floor, or that part of the garage, it was the first one in Bundaberg to put in a hydraulic lift. Like we had there was a ramp out in the backyard. Like most garages had a ramp where you drove up to about that height, and the mechanics had to get underneath to fix the car up. But he had this hydraulic lift with that big steel thing in the middle and raised it up, and they could stand there with grease guns. And each car's got a lot of nipples, and they just put the grease gun on over the nipple and grease it. So it was quite an innovation. I talked in some of the letters I wrote for the paper about the Chinese market gardeners. Right diagonally opposite was QE's. There's a street named after them up, runs around to the Bourbon Swamp. And they're the ones who used to sell fireworks at Guy Fawkes night. Everyone in Bundaberg bought fireworks there, and they used to put on a big display. There was an empty paddock right across from there, and just to show their appreciation of what they sold, they'd have every bunger imaginable and all those things on the fence, the spinning jennies and skyrockets going off. And the last thing they had was like a teepee in the middle of a tent. Well, not a tent, but 3 poles like that, and this big string of, and they light the bottom, and there was small noises and large noises right to the very top. And the top one would be a really big bunger, and there was skyrockets going off. I was going to say half of Bundaberg went there, but there were hundreds of people used to go. Besides the QEs, there was directly opposite was Charlie Lee King. They had his own, that's where the TAB is now. And I told you before that he used to get us, we kids for the weekend used to live down the river. That was our playground. And we used to have this 4-gallon tin of Millicum syrup, or 4-pound tin about this big, and catch shrimps. Take about 2 or 3 hours to catch all these shrimps. And he'd take them up to Charlie Lee King and he'd give us a shilling. So if there was 4 of us, that was 7 each for an afternoon's work. No, not anything about it. My mother made, there used to be a bike, like a bike room first, like that, and a mosquito net. Like she'd sew the net on. Each bike room's got holes where the spikes go. So you make a dilly net out of the little mosquito net. And then on the top, just a couple of 3 bits of string on the holes and a long cord. So you'd find your good places in the river. Just put them down slowly on the bank, and you didn't do it fast, just find things away and put it down slow. And of course you had to have a dead fish or a rotten piece of meat to attract them. That was tied inside the dilly. We call them dilly pots. And you leave them there for about 5 minutes and pull them up very slowly. And Sometimes you'd get a dozen, sometimes only 3 or 4, and there'd be a bony brim, which, you know, we'd throw those back. But a lot of the shrimps they'd be females with all the eggs, you know, hanging here. But I think the Americans still call them shrimps. They're really like a small prawn. Well, you'd get little baby prawns too, about that big, and we'd always try and throw them back. Even in those days, we must have thought about conservation. We used to do a lot of fishing, walking bare feet. And most things we'd catch in the river were catfish. You know, the catfish got that very sharp spike on his back, you know, like a needle, and if you stand on that, you've got a pretty sore foot for a long time, but you know, we used to try to be careful. And we used to catch trumpeter, and perch, even baby sharks. So I used to say to the blokes, if there's a baby shark there, it's got to be a mother and father. And this is back in the early 1930s, so that means there were sharks in the river there. The Railways Club was there, you know, where it is now. And the train used to go behind there over to Millicum with the sugar. You know, there was a place called the Sugar Shed. You heard of the Sugar Shed? I've been going to ask you later if you've got any photos. Or at the bottom of Wallace Street, just on Key Street, where there's all grass and the railway line came along, there was this very big 2-storey galvanised iron sugar shed, and the train used to come along with the open wagons with 70-pound bags of sugar, and the work there, they were wharfies. They used to have to, they had a plank going up to the truck. They used to have to throw this under their shoulder, 70 pounds, a lot of weight, walk inside the sugar shed. And the only thing they had in there mechanical was this endless mechanical thing that it started off low, and like they just lay the bags over there in that corner, and they put them in the basket weave till they get bigger and bigger, so they can lift this thing right up to the top there. And occasionally, if they didn't do their job properly, a couple of bags would start to slip. And if the bag slipped, it'd take a whole lot, you know, down and knock the fellows down on the floor. And they'd have to sort of start again and straighten it out. But and then that was stored in there for a while until the coastal steamers came up from Brisbane or Sydney or somewhere. They weren't terribly big. And they came up to this sugar shed. And the sugar shed had ramps that went down into the hulls of the ship. And the same thing there, the men had to get these sugar bags again, throw them on their shoulder, and put them on these rams that went down, you know, flop, and there was wharfies down in the hull, catching them and stacking them in the hull. It's all done mechanically these days. Pretty hard work, you know, 70-pound bag. Oh, I was born in 1930 in Lady Chelmsford Hospital, but my family lived in Bus Street. My older brother in Bus Street. The house is still there, it's pretty old. My mother used to talk about just the Labrador dog. You used to have litters of pups, about 10 pups or something. These little black, you know, I didn't know them, but Mum used to have to feed them and help old Jess the dog, and he'd have 6 months time to have another litter. Then we moved. I don't remember any of that. So we got down to this corner of Bourbon and Wallace Street, and there was a new house built behind, and we lived in that house. And that house, I told you, is still out on the Enderheads Road. Sometimes when it was moved, when I lived in Brisbane, it was moved from there right on the left-hand side as I drive down the Enderheads. Still there, still looks the same, but it had a lovely big open veranda. And Mum, like if it was a wet day, we could play out there. And even had little trikes, we could ride the trike. You know, a trike is a 3-wheeler. Ride the trike around on this veranda. It doesn't matter whether it was raining or not. And a lot of those things, you don't see those anymore. Houses are all, like a lot of the early houses had open verandas. They've all been filled in, made into sleep outs. I didn't say much about the lady Chelmsford. It was opened in, Osborne on 26 was opened a few years before that by Lady Chelmsford, who was the wife of the Governor of Queensland. And actually she didn't open it because she got sick. And one of the Youngs, Mrs. Young from Ferrymead Sugar, like they were the early pioneers, she opened it for the Governor's wife, but it was still called Lady Chelmsford. And the name of it wasn't called Maternity Hospital, it was called Lady Chelmsford Laying In Hospital. And it had, I can still remember it, it had two of those sort of butterfly steps, you know, you walked up that side, and up there, and there's one down there too. And those big Camphor Old Tree, this is in Barber Park, just over the railway line. There's big Camphor Old Trees there in Bourbong Street. They were there when the hospital was there. The hospital was, in 1934, it was made into 4 pieces, cut up, and part of it was moved up to the base hospital, and still called the Lady Chelmsford. A lot of mothers had their babies there in the Lady Chelmsford. And a part of it was made a private hospital opposite where the high school is now, and there was 2 other bits. I don't know what happened there, but so it was closed in 1934 and it became Barber Park.